Good morning. Today I'm going to talk about us seniors and disabled who are breaking the country. I mean, we can't avoid it. Every time we read the paper, there's something about entitlement that has gotten so out of control. This country, well, entitlement has just got it by the throat and strangling it. And it's true. I have to say, it's true. I've given a lot of thought to this. And here, he and I live in subsidized housing. We get Social Security, and I get SSI because my Social Security runs a little too low. And so that means that I belong to the Access or Medicaid, so whatever my Medicare doesn't pay, Access will kick in and pay on my medical bills, so I don't have any medical bills. I used to pay the co-pays even on our drugs. And you know, even I, when President Bush came smiling out.
Which one are we
I have
talking about?
signed the bill
Which bushwhacker are we talking about?
for drug.
Which one?
Drugs. W was the one who gave, well, of course the seniors who were going to benefit from this were happy. I mean, that's what they wanted. That's what they, but the country couldn't afford it, was never going to be able to afford it, and it wasn't very long. But W's not been gone very long, and the country's in trouble with entitlement.
I wonder why.
They are in terrible trouble with entitlement. And do I love living in subsidized housing? Do I think that's better? No, it's not better. And my theory is always this: don't ever get away from the family unit. And that means if you take seniors off, the kids' hands, and this is our government. Oh, those kids aren't treating those old people right. Well, what have you got with old rich daddy government?
Why do you keep looking at me like that?
You have got somebody who doesn't even call for an accounting. It doesn't call, seniors. So this is what you end up with. If your kids are involved, and not so much entitlement, those kids, yes, they might be saying, take for example, smoking or drinking. Well, when my dad was running up and down the road every once in a while and creating havoc, the sheriff or whoever picked him up would call us girls and say, well, your dad, he's got drunk again. You girls, what do you want us to do with him?
Well, you know why, don't you? Because he had a lot of money.
He didn't have a lot of money. He had money,
I consider
but
$1 million a lot of money.
Well, it wasn't even $1 million.
Oh, okay.
You just tried to stretch it.
$500,000.
Well, you got more than I did. You inherited more from your dad because you were an only child. And I was split between 5. But anyway, yes.
Well,
I had way too much money to be running up and down the road trying to
There's
kill
a lie
people.
that I'd like to
So, yes, we would go get him and bring him home and give him, cuss him. And one of us would usually stick around if he was alone to watch him to see he get in trouble.
Which one was it? You?
Yes. The watchdog of the parents. Well, now, look at me. I'm totally on my own. I have none of my kids that are watching over me. Why? Because I'm so entitled. They don't even need to do a thing. Well, anytime you take away family, try to take the power of the family away, you've got trouble, because Big Daddy does not make a good parent in absenteeism. Big Daddy doesn't really give a damn. Big government is so inept, and it just indulges everyone. You're rewarded for your addictions. If you become disabled as a result of your addictions, Big Daddy, I'll take care of you. Come right on in and I'll provide you with money. I'll provide you with a place to live. You won't have to worry about a thing. Well, does that make good sense? Now, I think that kids, if they were more in charge and it was going to come on them to have to help this old bird, just like my brother-in-law who's been in a lot of trouble with his smoking. Well, that kid'd be, you're going to quit smoking or we're not going to take care of you.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about...
The government doesn't do that. It doesn't come down there and say, listen, old boy, we're not going to pay for any more operations.
Are we talking about tobacco here or smoking? Which are we talking about?
No, we're talking about tobacco.
Okay.
Just plain old tobacco has a lethal effect on many people after they get older. And costs, right now, the government, thousands and thousands of dollars in Medicare to take care of all the damage. And that's just smoking alone. That doesn't even count drinking. Oh, sorry. Drinking, and it doesn't count. Foodaholic. In this place, we know we're in an obesity epidemic. And the first thing you got to do is start exerting.
Well, speak for yourself.
If they
I'm losing
had
weight.
their families.
I have cancer. I'm dying. Jeez.
If they had their families in charge, believe you me, they would be looking, when they started getting about 300 pounds, well, a lot of times these kids start off with very indulgent parents. That's the big problem. The parents are in charge of them when they're little kids and they don't do a good job. But believe you me, Big Daddy government does an even poorer job because it's not their job. I mean, they couldn't agree. They couldn't agree on anything on how to stop this kind of behavior that causes disability and continues to cause it. I mean, you can't get fatter and fatter and fatter and cut your medical costs down. They're going to go skyrocket.
They already have.
They're going to go skyrocket. Now, this guy I know that smokes. He's had 5 operations before he finally had to have his leg cut off. And that wasn't it at all. Then he started in on lung cancer. Well, much money do you think it's going to cost to treat his lung cancer, which had metastasized, while he was tending to his leg, which was causing arterial damage due to smoking. And he's still smoking. So, and how much do you think this is going to cost Medicare? Phenomenal amount of money. And this is just one person. So it's no wonder to me that the country can't afford entitlement. And they're going to do something about it. And they don't want to do it. They're still fighting to keep from having to be the ones that do it. The party in power, the Democrats, don't want to have to do anything that will upset any bunch of people and cause them to vote against them.
Democrats are not in power. The president might be Democrat, but that doesn't mean he's in power. Look at the Republicans. Every time you turn around, they give them a kick in the butt. And they should, but I say they're not doing good thinking if they think they can take the place of family. Anytime any organization, any institution thinks that they can take the place of a person's family and don't continually try to strengthen the family unit, the family, and get the kids all involved, too many times when people go into entitlement, just like my own kids, I don't even know my grandkid. One of my grandkids I never see. Why? Because they're very, very busy. They live away from me. But if they had to be more involved with me, if all my needs weren't being taken care of, believe me, I would see more of them. You're kidding.
Oh, yes, I would. They'd be forced to. Because it's not that they don't have the means. They don't need to. I'm being taken care of. Government is taking care of me.
I see more of you than they see of you, and the reason is because you live in the same building I live in.
That's right. And he's a poor excuse for family, believe me. And so's all the rest of these people around here. Why? Because they're indulging themselves all the time. All the time. They're living in a place where indulgence is not punished. And it's rewarded.
I did not buy this hat myself, folks.
Yeah.
She gave me
Yeah.
this hat.
The
so
fatter
let's
you get,
together.
the more attention you're going to get. The more money you're going to get. The more doctors you're going to see. The more, and you know,
What was
the more you
part?
smoke,
What
the
was the
more
part?
you drink, you're going to get more attention. So he you know, he can't lose his home because he hardly pays anything for it. So
I
he
don't
can go
own
on
a
drinking
home.
for years
I
and
live in
years,
a- I live in
deteriorating.
an apartment. That's not a home.
And in fact, I would say the worst thing that ever happened to him is when he found this place, because before that he was paying a pretty good rent in order not to be on the street. But as soon as he come in here, he had a whole bunch more money to spend. Guess where it went? Guess where it went? The worst thing that ever happened to him, the ruination of him, was getting in one of these places.
I wasn't ruined by this place. I was ruined
And
years
me,
ago.
I should have been extremely poor.
I was
I've been
ruined
too poor
25 years ago.
to buy any kind of, well, in here, then same with me. I could buy all the foods I want. Most expensive food in the world. Why? Because everything was being taken care of.
Well, who
My
who bought
drugs
all
were
that
being
Kentucky
bought.
Fried Chicken yesterday?
They try to make, and I think, my God, who is it in government wants to be so good to people? They want to be Santa Claus. I'm convinced. Bush wanted to be Santa Claus. He wanted to be remembered as Santa Claus to the seniors. He got
think
their
so.
drug prescriptions entitlement.
I always thought it was more Rudolph the
He got,
Red-Nosed
you know,
Reindeer.
and at one time there, we were all scared to death. You know, they were going to
Who's
stop
we?
building us in subsidized housing. We
Who's
were scared to
never
death because they were
subsidized
going to
housing?
stop building subsidized housing. They're going to make it real scarce. Now, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden they started building subsidized housing all over the place. So the seniors,
You mean
oh,
projects?
they were going to have it good.
Projects?
Yes, projects all over the place. And no more talk about
Hell, they started back
we're
in
going
the
to,
60s
HUD is
doing
going to
that.
be restrained. We can't afford it. And, you know, right then they were
did
talking
that back
very
in the
strong
60s.
about controlling this burgeoning need on some people's part to give everyone free housing. Do you know how much that costs the government? I live in a housing, one bedroom. I pay $200 around. The government pays, the apartment itself is around $750. So that means the government is paying $550, somewhere around that, for my apartment alone. So here I am, $500 in government, my pills all paid for, my,
And nobody knows why you're still alive.
of course the government is keeping me alive.
Well, show them
If
little
my
flower
kids,
over there.
if my kids, and this to me is the reason to me why I am not,
Showing it.
I have written all my life, but the reason I'm not famous is because my kids weren't strong enough to help me.
That's true.
People that get
Your
famous,
kids are
they don't get
probably-
famous on their own. They get famous because their parents are helping them. They know these people. They put them in touch, and there's a lot of other parents. We want our kids to succeed. We want them to publish a book. Yeah, we'll help them. We'll go. The parent is involved.
Wait a minute.
And I didn't have that. No, I didn't
I
have.
told you.
Or your kids.
I would publish your book, but no.
Who's going to depend on him? Doesn't, you know, you're not going to depend on a guy that doesn't draw a sober breath. You just aren't. You can't. So I didn't get the dedicated
But I have the money to do it.
until, you know, my dad's money to me kept me going for years.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
10 or 11, 12 years.
12 years. But before that, he was helping me out. I mean, if I got in trouble, because he knew my health was impaired, and probably due to him, a lot of it,
Of
worry
course.
and stress and strain over all the things that happened in childhood with him and his drinking. So my dad was always there to help me. And then after he died, I lived on what he gave me. I inherited from
Which was
him.
pretty damn good.
So the family was involved. My dad was a far better person to be helping me because he needed to help me. He
Like
knew
they're
it.
going
He
out by
knew it.
themselves.
But for the government, the mindless government to come in and do all this help, and they can't really reward anybody for good behavior. They just reward everybody.
Okay,
They reward bad behavior.
can I ask a point here? Would you like the government to stop subsidizing you and put you back on the street?
They won't.
Probably belong.
They're not, because they're going to have to crunch down, stop building subsidized housing in the,
Well, they have.
stop trying to help everybody when they're not good helpers. This is what Congress has to recognize when they get there.
They gave all the money
and
to
be
the,
it tough.
to
But
the
see, their
military.
constituents back there, oh yeah, anybody they help out more
Help
than
out.
they should.
They cut the military, who's caused
Of course,
us to
of
be
course.
so far in debt, never win any wars, been in wars for how many years now?
Well, they couldn't possibly have won. So it's like the government's mind is not very good.
The government doesn't have a mind.
That's right, and it doesn't use what little bit of mind it has very well
The
at all.
government doesn't have
So
a
that's
mind.
why-
It doesn't have a mind.
That's why when you get government too big, that's what you get. And it's very hard to rein it in and stop saying here Obama is
No, wait a
coming
minute.
in.
I do not like the way this is going, and for two reasons. First of all, I do not want to get kicked out of here, okay?
Of course not. You're
Secondly,
used
I don't
to
think
it.
it's anybody's
You're
business
used to it.
what I have to pay for my apartment. And-
Oh no, it's everybody's business when it's the government paying for it. It's everybody. And because
Well,
that money is going
How
to
come I still
this.
have cockroaches? And that's what I want.
Because you're such a bad housekeeper. They don't ask.
Jeez.
They don't ask
I'm not a
very
bad
much of
housekeeper.
hardly anybody. How can
They don't even
How
have a
can
house.
they? So, it's true. It's true.
You know what?
If you get away from common sense
Well,
and you start taking over, the government starts taking over for everybody. If you got bad parents, we'll help you. If you got bad kids, we'll help you. We're going to take the place of everybody.
Oh, that
pretty
sounds-
soon,
that sounds
the
like
kids,
communism.
the family, everybody
Socialism.
doesn't even do anything.
Communism.
The government
if you
will
don't
step
like
in.
our government,
In fact,
Move
the
out.
government will step in anyway and be prepared to do everything until it can't afford it anymore. Until naturally it can't afford it. It can't be big Santa Claus. It can't be the answer to everybody's
true.
prayers.
China takes
Because-
over USA by taking over debt. Mhm.
Yeah, they may.
What are you
They
talking
may.
about? They may. They own the biggest part of the debt.
Well, there we are. There we are. We just walked right into it. Didn't do a thing about
What's
it.
this we stuff you keep dragging
The
me
people.
into?
The people.
I'm not one of the people.
Oh, yes. Well, he's withdrawn, but if he wasn't living off the government, wouldn't you hear a scream?
No, you wouldn't hear a scream. I have to live off the government.
Yeah, right. If you couldn't live off the government.
I didn't say that. I didn't want to live off the government. I did damn well on the street for 3 years.
Oh yeah, he did real
Wrote a
good.
book, and the
Sleeping
book
in
didn't
books.
get published either.
And you
folks.
didn't even get it in shape. He didn't even type it. What were the publishers supposed to do? Come down and say, "Oh, give me those pieces of paper there. I can. I'll take them and publish them."
Artwork and things on the wall.
Believe me, getting a book publishing is half the job. Marketing.
Con somebody into marketing for you, right?
Marketing. And having spent a lifetime trying to figure this all out, I said, I've figured out that the people who do get published, they've got help. And it's not government help.
Yeah,
Because government is so inept.
It's who you know and.
That's right. Who you know, how good your parents, it's the strength of the individuals around these people. These people are surrounded by people who know how to get things done. They're not like the government. The government doesn't know how to do anything but pass laws, give money. That's why they're so much in debt. They don't have any return. They don't figure on any good return on what they do. So they have just turned loose. The sky's the limit, and suddenly the sky's got a limit.
I didn't know
The
the
debt
sky
has
was
got a limit. Debt has got a limit. And I'm sorry. I'm just sorry to leave the world in such a horrible, god-awful mess.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
So deep in debt.
Well, listen, I have to be honest with you, okay?
Yes.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I hate to leave the world with this country gotten itself so deep in debt, and this happened fast, very fast, relatively speaking. When we had,
What?
as soon as some presidents could do it, as soon as they could start giving entitlements, they just went crazy. They gave entitlements all over the place.
You love that word, don't you? Entitlements.
Well, that's right. You're entitled to this, you're entitled to that.
That's just bullshit.
Even though it was going to raise the debt astronomically, they didn't rein themselves in. They didn't say, we can't afford this. There weren't enough people in government saying, we can't afford that, we can't afford it. No, they went past every warning sign, every red flag that went up, they just went right on by. No, we're going to give
Where have you been for
people,
your whole lifetime?
Okay, but this is, now they're to the end of the line. There's nobody left. There's nobody left to borrow from. That much money.
You gotta be kidding me. China's got money all over the place.
Oh, baloney. You haven't even been, I've been reading about this debt for a long time. And
that's what started this whole thing, right?
How are we going to pay for it when it is so huge that our whole way of life changed? All because we can't stop spending. We can't stop giving when we don't have it to give.
Yes,
we can't figure out how to rein it in. Congress can't even agree on what to cut. How are you going to cut entitlement after you've given it? Oh, we're helpless. Oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. And we can't get along. There are a bunch of little kids that can't even get along. Can't agree on anything. And can't agree, but yet closer and closer comes the stranglehold. Debt gets on you.
How much
Me,
debt?
I'm not in debt at all.
Well, there you go. See, you're
I am not in
complaining about
debt.
that. We're all looking
And I don't like to
We're
live
looking forward to
by getting
die without debt. Okay?
my living is causing this government, a little part of it, all of us to get hugely, hugely, hugely in debt.
I'm not in debt.
Yes, but your government is, dear, who's paying for your housing.
That's not
It might
my
come a time when
problem.
Social Security won't even be available for our kids. Not even a minimum because of debt. Debt, debt, debt. And how do some people who have managed to, you might say, give it all away, start restraining themselves? That is really a big question. And I'm going to be leaving the world before it ever gets solved. But man, I know everybody's going to have a very tough time in the next number of years, and you won't be here either. But thought I'd just talk about it.
I know I'm worried.
Oh yeah, look at him. Doesn't worry him. He doesn't worry about anything. He's in nirvana.
That's right.